Hello, and welcome to Fleet News Group podcast, where we talk about all things fleet. I'm Caroline Fall, and today I'm speaking with EROAD Business Development Manager Chris Emerson. EROAD started publishing an annual sustainability report in 2021, which we covered on Fleet News Group. So the company's advanced in understanding not only its own environmental impact, but can help other fleets measure and reduce emissions. So we're going to talk to Chris about that. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show, on the podcast.
And that's right, isn't it, what I said in the intro? Like EROAD works with fleets across Australia, New Zealand and North America, helping them improve their environmental impact. So how do you help fleets track emissions or on their emissions reduction journey? Can you just tell us more to that point?
Yeah, sure. That's actually a really good question, and really goes to the core of what our technology does. So EROAD's technology allows organisations to understand what their fleets are doing, and how those vehicles are performing. So when we look at metrics such as fuel inputs and the mileage completed by those vehicles, you can estimate what the emissions look like from those vehicles, how that looks from an efficiency standpoint, whether whether they're performing above or below a benchmark for that vehicle, and from there you can take action to improve. So in the early stages of implementation of a technology like EROAD, you can use it to get a baseline of what your fleet's performance looks like today, and that gives you an opportunity to have a starting point, and also to do some initial identification around where can improvements be made. Which of my vehicles are really dragging down the performance of my fleet, and then make improvements. And then importantly, if you're going to set about improving your fleet's performance, and you want to be able to report on that, whether it be for government or internal targets, then having that baseline means that you can start there and then track your performance and improvements over time, and demonstrate real tangible change that's been achieved in the fleet.
Oh, thanks, Chris, for that sort of answer. But we should step back a little, I think, and let you give us a better picture of what EROAD is, how it started, what services and products you offer, where you operate, what brands. So just tell us all about EROAD.
Yeah, of course. So EROAD, I'm actually relatively new to EROAD. I started around middle of 2022. However, there is a lot of experience within the business. EROAD was founded in New Zealand back in 2000, and then just a few years later launched what will be one of their core products, which is the road user charges devices, and was in fact one of the first electronic road user charges systems to be launched anywhere in the world, and that was launched in 2009. And then if we jump forward to today, it's a large organisation with an international footprint. EROAD has offices in New Zealand, Australia, and more recently in North America. So quite a large footprint now into some very large markets. And what we do as a business now, I guess we've evolved from being that regulatory device, which was used for the road user charges in New Zealand, to being basically a whole of fleet management solution. So we have a full software suite, from fleet dashboard to service and maintenance management, through to pool vehicle booking systems, and even pre-start checklists for drivers for their compliance as well. And all of these software solutions in the cloud, and supported by really high quality GPS tracking hardware which includes some of our latest technology, which is connected fleet cameras, which adds another dimension into understanding the fleet and driver behaviour as well.
I think we've already noted that sustainability, is a top value at EROAD, and your literature, that sustainability report highlights the linkage between safer and more sustainable roads, and how it embraces not only the health of the environment but also the safety of people in the community, as well as ticking other UN sustainability goals. Is that something that you can talk to a bit more?
Yeah, sure. Translating it to what it means to me and to the messaging that I've received from our business and as being part of the team is that there are the things that every organisation talks about: the responsible supply chain and changing vehicles to electric and those types of things. But sustainability is also about how we live and how we move and whether that's sustainable as well. And that extends to what is it like to work in the organisation? Is it a safe organisation? Does it support its people when they need support, so that they can keep on doing what they need to do each day and support their families and live long and I guess wholesome lives. So there's all those key things that we're trying to tick off. As I mentioned, responsible supply chain, our own organisation's emissions. So we are a member of Toitu in New Zealand. I hope I pronounced that properly. It's actually a native word which means pure. So there is an organisation there in New Zealand which reviews the organisation's compliance with sustainability targets, and we've actually obtained an ISO rating as a part of that review, which is cool. That's some facts there that we're doing our best to comply and minimise our impact on the environment. I know that we've also introduced a number of electric vehicles into our own fleet and encourage days for staff to explore different modes of transport, like even using electric bikes and those types of things. So getting into that sustainable lifestyle is really important to our organisation. So how that extends into other organisations, and I guess if we want to get specifically into fleet, we know that first of all, safer drivers are more efficient drivers. So by improving safety in fleets, we know that we are also improving the sustainability of those fleets. And part of that is also making sure that those safe fleets mean safer roads as well in our communities. So we've got safer drivers with more efficient fleets. Our roads are safer, so there's lower impact on communities that those vehicles operate in. And not only that, the drivers themselves, the workers who are out there doing the hard yards in the vehicles, have got every chance to have a healthy work environment and to be able to get home safely to their families at the end of the day.
As you just mentioned, you're talking about, safer drivers, and your company also has products that help manage driver behaviour, and that management can also lead to saving money and saving emissions. So I wonder if that's a point that we could sort of expand on a little bit.
Yeah. So, at the core of our technology, there are systems that allow us to track what the vehicle activities are. And so from that information, we can get visibility of things like harsh braking events, harsh accelerating, hard cornering, for example. So understanding how the driver is operating the vehicle when they're out and about is a really important first step to understanding and managing the safety of the vehicles. So we're gathering all of that data, and then we can add a layer even on top of that with the fleet camera technology, which allows us to capture events that might be happening out on the road and give greater context to those behaviours. So we can capture the harsh braking, harsh accelerating, etc. And then on top of that, seeing the video to understand, is it because of traffic conditions? Is it because of the driver behaviour? And even, heaven forbid, if there is a serious incident, being able to recover footage of that to protect both the organisation and the driver in that situation. So we can take those metrics. Organisations can look at those metrics and address any concerns with those drivers. We have a benchmarking system called Leaderboard, which simplifies that process for organisations, ranking all of the drivers based on all of those performance metrics which we are tracking. And we can even go the next step above that and provide coaching in the cabin in real time for the drivers. So what we do with that is, rather than the approach to safety being more of a reactive or retrospective approach, where you look at the analysis and then address it with the drivers, we've got systems that can actually give live feedback to the drivers in cabin, so they understand when those types of behaviours have been detected, and it makes them a lot more cognizant of it. And we've seen very significant reductions in overspeed events and harsh driving events from having that in-cabin feedback to the drivers. So yeah, there's a really broad set of data that we can capture from the driver performance, and then we've got very good solutions for fleet managers to be able to review easily and provide coaching to those drivers to address and improve safety.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was EROAD's experience in administering road user charges in New Zealand. So, you know, of course, governments collect taxes and pay for roads. And in Australia, we rely on fuel excise, with various state and federal discounts now applying to encourage EVs. But, you know, as I just noted, it's different in New Zealand and around the world, where various regimes have different modes of collection. So I'm just wondering sort of what your thinking is about what might happen in the future, whether road user charges like you have in New Zealand will become more widespread, and if so, whether EROAD, with all of its experience in administering road user charges collection for the New Zealand government, is in a position to benefit.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question, because as I understand it, you know, to get to the future opportunity part, as I understand it, the Australian government are already in consultation with industry about road user charges systems. So I think that there's definitely, you know, some potential for that to be rolled out even into countries like Australia. And what's going to drive the expansion of road user charges type systems will be the transition to EV. So at the moment, you know, in Australia and in New Zealand for light vehicles, we pay an excise on fuel at the pump, which goes to supporting the development and maintenance of our roads. In New Zealand, for light vehicles on diesel and for heavy vehicles, they are tracked using the road user charges system. So with this transition to electric, fewer of us are going to be paying the excise on fuel, but the roads are still going to need to be maintained, and there's a cost with that. So the government will need to find another way to gather those funds, and I would say it's quite likely that a road user charges system would be implemented to support that. So are we in a position to capitalise on that? Yeah, I think we would have to be, given the amount of experience that we have at working with those devices, being that we are a leader in that technology. Certainly, I would think that our organisation would be definitely a top consideration for supporting that type of system rollout. And yeah, I know that we're definitely capable to support that, and would be very willing to participate.
Oh, you might just highlight for us, Chris, how involved EROAD is in collecting that road user charge in New Zealand, because that's how EROAD was born, isn't it? From developing a device to meet those government regulations, and I understand you're very big in that field. So how much of the government road user charge do you collect there? And I think you said it's not just for trucks, it's for any diesel vehicle as well.
Yeah. So light diesel vehicles and heavy vehicles in New Zealand are subject to road user charges. As I understand it, EROAD collects approximately 16.5 million New Zealand dollars per week through the road user charges system. And I believe that's in the vicinity of around 80% of road user charges that are collected in New Zealand. So very heavily involved in that process. And the way we do that, obviously using our telematics technology for one, to track and measure the activity of the vehicles. But we also have our system connected into a bank grade payment system, payment gateway that allows users to top up or purchase road user charges as they consume them, and that simplifies the process from end to end, from a end user or from a fleet perspective. So yeah, we're very heavily involved in that process, and yeah, I'm not sure what more I can add on that.
Okay, and just to finish off, and because it's so early in the year of 2023, I'm just wondering, in talking to clients, what you are finding as some of the biggest issues and concerns for them. Is it sourcing new vehicles? Is it upgrading technology? Is it providing services with less vehicles, less staff? Tell us what you see going on.
Yeah, well, it's a really diverse set of challenges depending on the organisation. We know that a lot of very large organisations and government organisations definitely feeling the pressure of the 2030 targets to get their fleets as sustainable as possible, to reduce emissions as much as possible. So those fleets are reaching out to us for technologies that give them the insights they need to understand how their fleets are being used, where they can reduce vehicle count, where and what opportunities they have to transition to EV. I know that some fleets have had struggles in obtaining vehicles coming out of COVID. The global supply chain has taken a fairly big hit, so there are fleets that are struggling to obtain vehicles, even if they want to change today. Other pressures that exist, there's been quite a high level of inflation in the previous years, which has pushed up the cost of living, pushing up the cost of wages, and certainly we've seen a significant increase in the cost of fuel. So from that perspective, fleets, big and small, are trying to find ways to reduce their costs. And for them to do that, they really need to understand, track, find those little nuggets of savings that they can from their fleet using this digital technology that EROAD provides. So really, there is a lot going on and a lot of concerns for the fleets out there. And even, I guess from a safety perspective, a huge challenge that we see here in Australia for fleets is availability of drivers. Many fleets are screaming out for drivers, and in some cases struggling to find enough drivers. So for them, from a safety perspective, the priority changes to, how do we retain drivers? If we want to retain drivers, how do we keep them safe, and how do we ensure that their performance means that they're not going to lose their license, or they're not going to leave the organisation? So there's certainly some of those factors coming into play too at the moment.
That's all I've got for my questions today, and so I just want to say thank you for talking with us, Chris. And it was great to spend time chatting about sustainability and safety with EROAD.
No worries. It was an absolute pleasure, and we just hope that we can deliver good outcomes for our customers, and safer and more sustainable roads.
You've been listening to Fleet News Group podcast. It was edited and produced by Isabella Fiorentino. You can follow us on Spotify. Just search for Fleet News Group. We're also on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. Our website is fleetnewsgroup.com, where you can get all of our stories, videos and podcasts. Until next time, drive safely and take care.